Welcome back, everyone. Michael here. I am here with you today in beautiful Portugal. Once a year, I take our Offshore Citizen team on a team trip, partially because it's nice for them, partially because it's, good team building, and partially because of the fact that we are able to explore a different part of the world. I have lived in, dozens and dozens, or not lived in, traveled to dozens and dozens of countries, lived in about 7 countries on a few continents, etc., but they often haven't. And so I think because the thing that we help clients with so much is obviously relocating and setting up around the world and things like this, and we have clients from 62 countries or so, it's helpful to be able to speak intelligently about the places, so it's good to be able to take them someplace where, in some cases, they've been there before, but in some cases they have not, and so it's just a really nice piece of education. So we are here for about a week in Portugal this year, and so I am happy to join you and kind of discuss things. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on the Golden Visa, for those of you who've been following along. The Golden Visa in Portugal has been one of the most attractive immigration programs in the world for quite a while. And unfortunately, they announced a while ago that they're going to be closing that program, but there's been some confusion around when is it closing and what's going on. And obviously some service providers who just want to make money quickly say, oh, rush, quick, get in. And the number of applications soared on the basis of that, not surprisingly, much like they have in Greece with respect to the price increases, etc. But today, we're going to give you the up-to-date information. One of the things that I've mentioned to clients over the last, month and a half since they first made the announcement that they'd be closing the program was, if you're going to do it, be aware that there is some risk that you may not get in. And so, not saying don't try it, but be aware there's a consequence there. Well, now I have some more definitive information for you. There's been some updates from the government itself, and some updates in terms of kind of the legal consequences, which are helpful. But on top of that, we are in a situation where we're able to update you about what that means in terms of what you should do. So the TLDR is you can still apply for the Portuguese Golden Visa. It's still, an excellent program. And you should, provided you get your application in time, be able to qualify. This being said, I'm going to explain a little bit about the things that I'm telling clients right now who are interested in terms of what you should be aware of, some of the pros and cons, the current timing on the program, because there are some details there that could make a pretty big difference in terms of your experience. And so stick around and tune in. Now, if you're interested in this or other Portuguese programs, or ones that are not just in Portugal, they could be in any other part of the world, or a lot of other parts of the world, anyway, there's not everywhere, but reach out to us, because we're happy to help you with that, as well as, legal offshore tax planning and banking and all the other things that we talk about on this channel. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. As always, there's a link in the description below, or you can send a message through offshorecitizen.net, and I'm happy to help you there as well. So what is the deal? So they'd announced, okay, not going to be taking any more applications, and there's some concern that people who were already in would maybe get denied, or people who filed an application after they'd made this statement would be denied, even though it hadn't been formalized. The statement essentially was, you're going to have a big legal problem on your hands if you do that. It's illegal to retroactively do something. You can't do that. It has to be after the law has actually been approved. And so the government seems to have come around to that idea. And the law, we don't know when it will exactly be approved, but the thought is somewhere around the end of June. So the general statement is, if you get your application in before around the end of June, you should be fine. So hence, if you're interested, by all means, we can help go forward with that. Now, the thing that I want you to understand about it is there is some non-zero chance that it could happen sooner and you may not get it in time, as well as the process of doing a Golden Visa in Portugal, it takes a while. You have to purchase an investment of some sort. You need to get the documents issued for that investment. You have to get a NIF. You have to open a bank account. You have to go through the AML. You have to get yourself a criminal record check. You have to get the criminal record check apostilled. If you don't have apostille in your country, that's a problem. Then you have to get it legalized, etc. So there's like a bunch of things that can happen and that can go wrong and that can take you some time. And you have to make the investment not knowing if you're going to get that application in time. Okay, really important concept as far as I'm concerned, because I don't want to just waste my money on some random investment. What does this mean? If I was doing it personally and I do think that there is some consideration of what difference it makes for you, because not everybody is in your situation, not everyone is in anyone's situation. It's all personalized, as is all these things. Anyone who's giving you one-size-fits-all advice is giving you terrible advice. If that's the case, well, you have to consider, essentially you have three options. The first option is you can get into some sort of a fund. The funds are, some of them, decent, some are bad, but decent. You're maybe going to look at like a 5% per year return. So it's not a great investment. And what you need to realize is if you put your money into the fund, your money is going to be locked up in that fund for the next, call it 7 years, okay? And because it's going to be locked up for that 7 or so years, if you apply today, you make the investment, you apply, and it turns out that for some reason you can't get your application in on time. And by the way, it's not a known cutoff. When I'm saying this thing about the end of June cutoff, that's kind of like an estimate. It, in theory could drag on longer. So it's not necessarily that you'll get cut off, and I think that it's somewhat reasonable that given the time that we have, that you should be able to get an application in, but it's not necessarily guaranteed, okay? So let's assume you don't get the application in, or for some reason your application gets denied, or you don't have whatever, right? Your money's tied up there. Now, if you're okay having your money tied up there, it's 500,000 euros. So for some people, that's not very much money. For some people, that's a significant amount of money. And you have to sort of think of, well, what's the opportunity cost for me? I want that money to be illiquid for the next 7 years tied up, okay? So that's your first option. Your second option is to do the 280,000 option. Now, 280,000, a lot less than 500,000, right? And as a result, you could say, well, maybe I would rather do that. I'm tying up less money, I have less opportunity cost, etc. I've kind of advocated for this over the last little while since they raised the amount that you needed for the actual fund investment. When the fund investment was 350, I thought it was kind of marginal, but now that it is not that, you could go and you could do one of these investments for 280. Now, these investments are all overpriced. Okay, every single one of them. There is no way that you're getting fair value on that 280 investment. So you have to realize that there is, your return is going to be possibly negative. Certainly not, highly unlikely that you're actually going to get a reasonable rate of return on that. I would say quite possibly negative. Some people would love to go and sell it to you because they get good commissions, etc. It's probably negative, okay? Might be okay, because the opportunity cost on the money over, again, you're talking about 6, 7 years, might be far greater than the amount of money that it's going to cost you for in terms of like the negative return on the investment. And by the way, you may get all your money back, right? I'm not saying that it will necessarily be negative, but I want you to know going in, there is that risk. These are not high quality investments, okay? But you only have to tie up 280. But that 280 is illiquid, okay? And so if you get in a situation where for some reason your application doesn't go through on time, something happens, then you could end up where suddenly you have this money that's illiquid for 7 years and you didn't get what you got in there for anyway. So you have to be prepared to take on that risk. The third thing that you can do is you can purchase real estate. And here you can't buy in Porto, you can't buy in Lisbon, you can't buy in the Algarve, you can't buy in most of the areas. So you have to figure out where to buy. Now, my recommendation would be to buy in Madeira. And this speaks to something which I will circle around to in just a second. So Madeira, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like the Hawaii of Europe. It's quite a nice island. And I think there's some reasons to believe that real estate could do fairly well there comparatively to some other regions. And so you could buy a property, and what's the advantage of that? Well, first of all, you're having a liquid investment. So you know you're paying fair market rate for it, and you're in a situation where if it turns out that your application doesn't go through, you can sell the asset, you can take the money out, and you can put it somewhere else. And it might do okay as an investment in general. Not a bad idea. The other thing about it is the delays on golden visas are really long, really like a year to 2 years to get the actual visa approved. Okay, so that's a fairly long period of time. It's not quick, and because of this, you just have to be prepared to wait. And your golden visa, okay, once it comes through, that's great, but it's going to push back the timeline on, say, getting citizenship, etc. We know of people who have been waiting since November of 2021 and still don't have their approval. Okay? They say they'll get them, it's in the queue, etc. But we just don't know how long that will take, and it could be quite a long time. So given that it could be quite a long time, I think it's really, really important to be aware that that extends, if you're thinking, okay, I'll have citizenship in 6 years, you will not have citizenship in 6 years. Could you eventually get citizenship? Yes. Yes, you could. But I want to warn you guys just not to have false expectations. Now, here's where Madeira comes in good. So we can approve visas much quicker in Madeira. So if you do an investment in Madeira, then we can use the application through the Madeira office, and we find that that gets approved quicker than doing it in one of these other places. It's less backed up, etc. Now, there are some things we can do to try and speed up the process in general, and so we may be able to get it expedited a bit. That doesn't mean it's fast, but maybe able to get it expedited a bit, but Madeira will help you with the speed. So I think that's an advantage of if you were to go and try and buy property in Madeira. Not saying that you necessarily should. It's obviously a personal decision for you. It depends on your situation, etc. But that would be the deal. Now, this comes to the other part, which is around citizenship. Okay, so you can qualify for citizenship after 5 years of residency. Great, awesome, we love it, fantastic, right? But it will probably take about 2 years at this stage to get approved. Now, this may change because CEF, the organization which is responsible for these things, is getting closed down, and they're doing a new reboot with some different organizations. To some extent, it's the same people, it's the same systems, etc. They're kind of dividing out. There's going to be 2 organizations. Anyway, that could speed things up, right? They may end up speeding things up. I'm not going to hold my breath, but it's possible. And if that's the case, then certainly maybe you will get to the point where you're 5 years in and you'll get a citizenship approved quickly. But right now there's a huge backlog of people. And so you should be aware of that going in, that realistically, this is probably like an 8-year process before you have citizenship. So anyway, keep that in mind and see what makes the most sense to you. And if you're interested at all in these programs, reach out to us. There is another program that we are researching right now to see what we can do. We know about the program, but there's a way that we can maybe get this physical presence requirement down to comparable to the Golden Visa. And if we can, I will let you guys know about that. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. I've been meeting with people about it, and yeah, it would be really great if it was. It would give kind of a backup option, and it's kind of attractive for the right people. But I cannot guarantee that that is the case. So we will keep you informed about it on future videos. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Again, reach out to us, send a message, offshorecitizen.net, or book a call with me, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next video.